So hello everyone, welcome to Colorado. We are in Denver right now and with Harkirat once again, and today we will be finding what kind of mistakes web developers do, and even he being an experienced Web3 developer, a blockchain developer, जो भी कहना कहो, how many mistakes he might be doing at the moment, which is a risk to security, because I have been a security engineer, I have been a cybersecurity researcher. Number one question, Harkirat, do you use a password manager?
No, I don't.
So how do you remember like thousands of passwords?
I usually don't have thousands of passwords. I have like 3-4 main passwords and I use single sign-on everywhere else.
Oh,
Yeah.
so like sign in with Google, sign in with Apple, etc.
Uh-huh.
But that is a security threat because majority of do you know why?
No, enlighten me.
Because majority of the passwords which are getting hacked these days, they are hacked through phishing. So people might be sending you app, let's say .exe file for let's say Zoom, Chrome, but that might be a keylogger.
Got it.
So keylogger is basically like whatever you're typing on your machine will be sent to the hacker.
Oh, nice.
Every single character, every single word. And once you accidentally install it, you will not even know it's in your computer and every single character. So the character could be sent to the hacker. So that's why people use password managers. And the benefit is obviously you don't have to manage like thousands of passwords. I have like around 600 passwords in my password manager and I have 2. And that's why we use it. Okay, so one concern, and you always type it.
I guess, yeah. I always type it.
Okay,
But I do have 2FA everywhere.
2F everywhere.
Yeah, so if someone does get my password, they still can't get in unless they have my phone on authenticator. Yeah.
That is pretty good.
I think it's really dumb to type everything. I agree.
Awesome.
The most important security concern when you log into, let's say, Amazon.com, Facebook.com, YouTube.com, there are like thousands of websites you use your email. So जब भी आप email डालते हो, which email you use? Is it the same email you use it for all the new accounts? या फिर आप हर बार नई email create करते हो? What is your idea? So let's say you're going to a random website. Let's say this website is called sambackmanfeed.com.
Okay.
Not trying to insult, but I'm just saying, right?
Okay.
Okay. So now you go to this website, you have never heard about it, and you want to try. Let's say they're making a new AI service. Which email address you will use?
I'll use like a burner email address that I use on all such spammy websites.
Same email. But on that email, उसमें नाम क्या है? Harkirat Singh है?
Harkirat Singh.
Okay. Oh my God. Phone number is real or fake?
No phone number. I don't think I've attached a phone number to it. I could be wrong. Maybe if there is a number, it's my own number.
And what if like when you're entering phone number on that website, which will you enter?
I try not to put my phone numbers, but yeah.
Do you have a fake phone number for it?
I don't. So if I can't get in, I will put my phone number. If it's very ugly, I'll put my mom's phone number. If there's a spam, she can handle it.
Oh. Okay. This is a big security concern. Because let's say कि यार वो website is scam, right? Now what they can do is they can look up Harkirat Singh. वो पूरे internet पे, they will go to the whole internet, search for your phone number, web scrape everywhere that they can, wherever you put your identity, and your identity will be compromised, and it is dangerous.
Yeah.
So what's the solution you think?
I mean, I can create multiple emails, like
Harkirat plus Amazon at gmail.com, Harkirat plus Facebook at gmail.com, Harkirat plus sambackmanfeed at gmail.com. So which service के लिए? Now इससे फायदा क्या होगा? What do you think the benefit is?
So what I was suggesting is I create new Gmail accounts, which is I think is scalable, right? If I do like HarkiratSingh1.com, HarkiratSingh1 at gmail.com, then HarkiratSingh2 at gmail.com. At some point I'll get bored and I'll just use HarkiratSingh1 everywhere. So that was
it's still a security concern.
Yeah, I don't think that's scalable. Okay.
So let me quickly explain what I'm trying to say. So I use a website called Simple Login. So let's say that I buy a course on Udemy, right? Ab Udemy where I am buying a course, I will use a separate email called harrycourse.something which is provided by Simple Login at alias.com. So basically what is happening is this is my alias which I am using for course websites. For example, when I booked a scooter मैंने book किया था एक बार. So that I used my Singh scooter dot ये website because I was renting a car scooter somewhere. तो मैंने ये email use किया था. Now with this email, it is unique and they cannot, web scrape. Baki websites pe jaake they cannot find my identity. My name is real, but my email is not real, so they cannot do web scraping and my identity will not be confiscated. So let's say I received some spam emails. So if you look at this email, this guy is sending me spam emails. How I went from $0 to 400K in a year, and this email is being sent to Harry at email simple content. So ये content वाले email से है. So I can literally disable this content email, and now no spam emails from that user will come. If I'm not using that website anymore, I can literally block it. Or what I can do is I can literally so when I hit unsubscribe, it will guarantee that I will never receive any email from that because that alias is unique. So it's ज़्यादा easily. Even if I enable this email later, ये ज़्यादा अच्छे से manage हो पाएगा thanks to alias. And you should set up alias too, and you can use my referral link for Proton Mail plus simple login. इससे आप aliases create करके they're both together. Simple login and Proton Mail both work hand in hand and very easy to use. मेरी पूरी life has become secure thanks to them, and you can check out with my link in description as well.
Okay, first of all, Harkirat should not be used.
For sure.
First,
Yeah. Should probably be Harnoor.
security
I will
concern.
use Harnoor Singh, YouTuber at gmail.com.
No, okay. So the idea is create fake email every time you're going to a new website. Even though you trust the website, spam emails come from everywhere.
Right.
Never give your email address. The idea is there's a service like Proton Email or Google Workspace have a service. Or Apple Mail has a service. They create unique email for every website.
Oh, nice.
So you didn't know about it.
Yeah. Then I just have a different email for every website, right?
Yeah. Now how it's spams will work. Like if there's a website like not Harkirat. Let's say there's a website like Singh plus Harkirat at sambankmanfeed.com, and if that website sends you spam, you can immediately detect and all those emails.
Yeah. And like these companies sell data, right? They have emails. If SPF.com has my email, they'll sell it to a bunch of companies like Swiggy, Amazon, ये लो ये Harkirat है. He buys stuff.
बिल्कुल.
And I can reach the source. अच्छा ये SBF की website है that has leaked my data.
और उसे block कर दो.
Yeah.
And your name will not be blocked. It's fake.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's the idea. Okay.
Now, number 3, an important concern for him as a web developer. So whenever you make a domain like singinusa.com or harkiratsingh.com, so in that case, अगर आपका कोई domain है, let's say you have an email admin@harkiratsingh.com. So in that case, how will you make that email secure? Do you know the steps for that?
I have no idea. I need to know this though because I probably need to create an email very soon. So
Okay, so that is something you should learn about because there's a concept called DMARC record. You can learn about it because if you do not publish your DMARC record, someone can actually send emails on your behalf. Let's say there's an email at admin@harkiratsingh.com. Someone can actually hack into it if the email is not secure.
interesting.
Yeah.
I think I've heard of this. Like you can, I think the protocol, what protocol is this? Simple SMTP, right? Simple
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's flawed, right? Anyone can send.
That is very
impersonate
flawed.
anyone.
Very, very flawed. If people can impersonate, let's say a random teenage person, send emails on your behalf and blackmail someone,
Right.
which is serious threat to your privacy, and you can get into legal issues if you are being impersonated.
Yeah.
How will you prove?
For sure. I remember this happened in my college where our mid-sem results would come out of an email and people hacked it and sent out fake results to students like that you failed, you have a 6 CGPA. That's when I sort of came to know about this. And then I tried the same thing on Google where I was able to, inside our campus intranet, impersonate Google emails. That's the security vulnerability I talked about in another video that I reported to Google. But then Google basically said this is how the protocol is designed. Maybe I'll share my mail thread here in some screenshot. But this is exactly what I sort of tried to report to Google. But then I realized this is how the protocol itself is built. It's pretty flawed.
Yeah, it is serious security threat. Yeah. Now, let's say you're making a website. There's a file in the website called index.html. Everyone knows about it, how it goes. Now, in that website, you're connected to a server, a backend. So this is the front end. There's a backend. Now it has some Python files. So you're interacting front end to back end. Now, back end needs some accounts access. So it might need access to Microsoft Azure, or Amazon AWS. It might need, might need to authenticate. It might need to authenticate with Facebook.com.
Right.
So where do you store all of the passwords for those authentication required by server? How do you manage those?
So in the end, it resides inside the binary or the file that's running, but the way to put it there is not to commit it to your source code, probably the way I do it, or I've seen it being done in a bunch of companies. So in big tech, or like in Goldman Sachs, for example, there's an internal secret manager that holds all the secrets, pretty secure, and then you just use that as an API. And based on the current environment that you're in, prod, dev, staging, you'll get the right set of secrets. Now, how I do it usually in startups is like there are secret management services. There's like a pretty popular startup vertical these days. So there's a company called Doppler. There's a new one that came recently. They basically do secret management where you store your secrets there, and they have very nice SDKs that hook right into a Java backend or a Python backend. So it just injects the secrets into your binary.
Oh, that is interesting because many people I've seen, many new developers, they just paste the password in the file, even though it might not be accessible.
Yeah,
it might be private repo.
Yeah, even like in public repo, if you go to GitHub and just search admin at the rate of some PSQL :/admin at the rate of, you'll see a bunch of people who've committed their actual production DB passwords on GitHub publicly.
And the biggest security threat in this process is once you commit using GitHub,
yeah, it's always there.
It was always there. Even though you delete it next time.
Yeah, unless you like do a hard revert and change the history, yeah, it's always there. You'll probably just have to change the password in your database then. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
That is the biggest security threat because people once commit, they make a mistake, they make another commit in version control. If you're all not familiar, check out GitHub tutorial. But in that when they create another commit and uske baad when they try to push it, still history has it and a lot of people can search it and wo passwords are gone. And another threat is API keys. Agar aap Google Firebase se connect kar rahe ho, your website. So you said you use OAuth, right? Just sign in with Google, sign in with Apple. Now, in that case, you need API key to integrate on your website.
Yeah.
So where do you store that API key?
Probably the same place where the database password resides.
People store it in their files.
Yeah, I know. I did it as well, like in college. Like this is something you learn slowly, but yeah, for sure. I know I've committed passwords to repos.
Oh my gosh, biggest security threat. Now, how do you avoid pushing it? If your code base needs it, let's say a project needs security key, how do you manage it not getting pushed to GitHub? Solution भी बात करते हैं यार, problem भी बात कर लिया.
Yeah, I mean, GitHub is not the place for it. Like if you have an app, a backend application, for example, you just have these as variables, probably environment variables, and then wherever this runs, it will inject those environment variables from some place. So never in your source code should any of this reside.
But what if like your text file needs it? What if you have to have and you haven't made your code? Naya project banate hain log, right?
Okay.
People make new project.
Okay.
They don't have time for all of the setup.
Okay.
Where do you put it then? How do you prevent it going to Git or GitHub? How do you prevent it to get tracked?
I have no idea.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, yeah, tell me.
There's a file called git ignore. So, yeah. So put all the files in git ignore. Jo bhi file you don't want to be version tracked. And no one will be accidentally able to commit unless they modify the git ignore.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Awesome.
I thought the question was different. I thought your source code needs to have it in GitHub for some reason.
It needs to have in the project.
In the project, yeah. So the very simple, like standard way is to have a .env.sample file, which contains the sample of what your environment file should look like. And your environment file .env resides in .gitignore, and then .env.sample is open, and people can just copy it and change it.
Pretty good.
Smart, sir.
Smart. Wicked smart. Now here comes the next test. I'm going to ask him to design a website. We will talk about the best ways for you to start a website right now. If you want to create a blogging website, if you want to create a coding platform, if you want to create your next business, what is the best way to start a website? So let's design it. So number one, let's say you want to make a blogging website fast.
Okay.
Would you use WordPress? Would you create it from scratch from HTML, CSS, JavaScript? Or would you use platform like Webflow? Yeah. These are like three best ways I've heard.
I have to make it very quick. I'd use Webflow. Like, why do you have to code if you don't? Like, you shouldn't code unless you have to. And a blogging website doesn't seem like something you should write code for. Just use something that's out there unless you have a very specific use case.
Good. Now, next question follow-up would be, how would you make it scalable? How would you, let's say tomorrow you have 1,000 customers and next day you have 100,000. How would you make it scalable?
I mean, Webflow, I don't have any control because it's hosted by them. I just have no code tools. But if I I have to design it myself. Then scalability becomes an issue because now I have to scale it myself. Front ends, if you don't have a backend, blogging website, you don't need a backend most probably. So all you have to do is just make sure your front end bundle reaches everyone in the world. So if there are 100,000 people, that's a lot of requests that are going to one server. So you shouldn't host it on a server. If it's completely static, you can use a CDN, a content delivery network, that caches your website in various places.
What is content delivery network?
So usually when you are on YouTube, you ask for a video chunk one by one. If all of these are stored in a single server, everyone asks that server, and that server is in the US, that's bad because everyone is asking, even India people are asking for that chunk from the US.
So you distribute it. This is load balancing.
Sort of. Yeah, sort of.
Load balancing, not like server oriented. It's like, it's kind of like scaling, like expanding your servers to
It's more
different
like
countries.
caching. It's more like caching.
Just caching, okay.
If the first person from India asks for it, it comes from the US to India and it sits in a CDN server in India. Everyone else that's asking from India for that, it'll go from that CDN to that person.
Pretty good approach.
Yeah.
Now let's change the website. Let's say I have a blogging website, but with some of the logic, I want location based. Let's say, you're making a website which you want different result. Let's say if I'm browsing from US, I want it to go to apple.com US, but if I'm browsing from India, I want it directly to go to apple.com/in. If you want to add that feature, it is pretty difficult to add in WordPress or
Probably.
Webflow. But how would you do it? Would you still use Wordflow? Would you still use Webflow or create it from scratch?
I think I'd spend 30 minutes on Webflow. If I can't figure it out in 30 minutes, then I'd create my own website. Because as your use cases become more and more niche, Webflow probably isn't serving every use case. It's for pacing simple sort of websites. And this is a very niche use case. Hence, I would probably start to own my code after that. Or at least that segment of code that needs to send out people to different places based on location. At least I'll code that up and then put that as a code segment in Webflow.
Yeah, that is a good approach. So there's actually place in Webflow and WordPress where आप थोड़ा बहुत code डाल सकते हो, like small segment of code, and you can put logic, location based, or whatever logic you think in blogging is unique to you. It's a special use case that you cannot do, you can do it. Now third use case is, let's say you're making a website for learning programming, like you have completely different page for C++, completely different page for PHP, completely different from Java. So you're teaching students how to code. So you're creating these pages. How would you create that kind of website?
Then
Scratch? Or like
Webflow.
WordPress or Wordflow?
Yeah, I probably want that. I mean, this seems like a very niche use case. Right? I mean, I'm sure there are categories, like these websites are usually used for, like Webflow is used for like e-commerce. And e-commerce also has categories like shoes, apparels. So I'm sure this use case can fit there. But as you get more and more niche, and generally if you're a developer, just own the code, right? I think it helps.
Got it. Now, when you create your own code base, what are the steps you're going to take in the design to make it scalable? So, and you have to write it and design. Can you like completely design, just like, a raw design on your Sketchpad?
Sure.
Steps to make it scalable, steps to make it maintainable, and steps when a new developer comes, there's minimum learning curve for a new developer to get adapted to that code base.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is your repo. Your use case should probably be static, which means there shouldn't be any backend. But you'll keep adding blogs, right? On like a day-to-day basis or like monthly. So probably there should be a backend. Maybe this could just be cached in the repo. So there are frameworks like Jekyll that approach one, use Jekyll or a similar framework, in which you basically store your blog posts in your front-end bundle, and hence you basically commit to GitHub every time you have to add a new blog post. That's probably bad.
Yeah, that is a bad approach. Like you're hiring people and GitHub access is a mess.
Probably. So you should probably create like an admin panel. The other approach I would take is have a user-facing website, an admin website, and a backend, unfortunately, because now the admin website would push new posts to the backend, and the user-facing website will have to pull them from the backend. Deploy to GitHub, and probably for this use case, for the backend, use some sort of a serverless backend, so that just scales with you. It doesn't seem like you'll need too many joins between your data. Seems like there's very simple data, so use like a serverless DB, probably, like just to start things off. Or do you want like a very scalable project, like from the very beginning? What do you want?
I think I would choose scalable.
Okay.
Because I think in this world, it's unpredictable. You get 1,000 one day, next day 10,000, 100,000.
Okay. So the good thing about serverless is it scales with you, but let's own everything. So I would deploy a database. That's the place where your posts reside. I would probably create a cache which sits in front of it, because a lot of people will be asking for the same blog post mostly at the same time, because like when you release it, everyone will sort of go to the same page. So cache would basically, this will be probably be a distributed cache. So there's one in India, one in the US, one someplace else. Probably the DB doesn't need to be distributed yet. And since you said it needs to be very good, so I'd probably use some sort of a strict schema. So MySQL/Postgres for the DB.
What's Postgres?
It's another database, just like MySQL. So cache, backend server, and then your two websites. The first website being the basically harnoorsingh.com, which contains your blog post categories, whatever you want. So you own all this code, you write all this code, probably in React or Vue if you want to get really messy. And then there's admin.harnoorsingh.com, which you and a few friends of yours have access to, that they can use to publish new posts to it.
Pretty good approach. Wow. He's really good at designing websites.
I think we just scratched the surface here.
Yeah.
If we get into, as the scales, or like we can dive deeper into the schema, other things. What do you want? What do you want me to do?
So you have solved all the problem of scalability, maintaining it. Now, when you create this code base, when you publish it, what are the security steps you will take?
I think go ahead.
A new developer might not, know the security. You have to make a layout for security.
I think you've discussed the most important things, which is never commit your secrets. Create like a .env.sample file or whatever, which contains a sample of your environment variables. Never commit them to your repo, and have like basic steps around how you can set up your database locally or a backend locally, and then the user can basically replace them. Use some secret management library to manage your secrets versus like committing them. What are the beginner-friendly pitfalls when it comes to backend development or like full stack? This is the biggest one. People commit secrets.
Another one I know is in server, people what they do is like they will not make a secure server.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
100%.
So you have to handle that. How will you?
Like close all your ports, only keep 80 open. Even better, like create a API gateway or like a load balancer in front which does auth, and then your final server, only good requests should reach there. Only requests that are like not from a bot from China or like some random prick trying to do something. So have a very solid API gateway in front of your actual backend service.
Yeah.
And have a lot of auth there, so that none of this reaches your DB. And there are very basic vulnerabilities like SQL injection that you should read about, and then probably do once in a while, like do a mistake and then understand why it's wrong, and then go from there.
Pretty good. Thank you so much for solving all of our security queries. That actually shows how experience he has.
Okay, I learned a bunch today.
ठीक है, ये बीच में कहीं डालूंगा.